I'd like to tell you the story of how I learned to channel. It was March 2003, and I was browsing the esoteric bookstore in Frankfurt. And this book popped out at me. It's called Elves, Fairies, and Dwarfs by Ava Menotti, and I fell in love with this little girl on the front. So sometime in the next days, I started to read the book, and to my surprise, it was not a Harry Potter style guide to these different beings, but it was a book of guided meditations that Ava channeled from these beings. So now this is something that you have to either believe in or not believe in, right? So the idea behind channeling is that, in this case, Ava goes into meditation, opens her consciousness, and connects with these beings who dictate messages to her, and in this case she wrote them down and shared them in a book. And what caught me was that the words were beautiful, but the feeling I had when reading the words was very intense, and it was a feeling of love for us as human beings, and a feeling of encouragement to be happy on planet Earth and to love trees and flowers and use these forces of nature to support us. So I became a kind of a groupie of Ava over the next years and of other authors from the same publisher. And I went to this publisher's location. It was basically a woman's home in the forest, about an hour north of Frankfurt. I had to drive a winding road to get there, so it was very different than my lifestyle here in the banking capital of Germany. And we'd lie on the couch or on the floor on a yoga mat and just listen to these people take us through positive guided visualizations. And so after a couple of years of that, I looked at the schedule and I saw that somebody was offering an intro to channeling class. And I thought, maybe I should see if I can do this, right? I'm just so into it, and I love the messages, and it's all so positive, but I just wasn't sure. Maybe it's reserved for a few. Can I, as a banker in Frankfurt, get access to higher wisdom? Am I allowed to do that? So as you can imagine from the story, I booked the weekend. I was in a group of about 10 people. One of my good friends was there, and we were sort of practicing small exercises and trying out writing down something channeled or coming up with pictures or words. And then, of course, on the last day, on Sunday, we were asked to do a real channeling for one of our partners. And I remember exactly where I was sitting. I was across from my partner. Her name was Fabienne, a French woman. And her back was to the wall, and my back was to the sliding glass door. And I can see her still sitting there with her pretty curly hair. And her questions concerned her healing practitioner business and her role as a nutritionist. And so I go into meditation, I go through the ritual like the teacher had taught us, and I realized that everything became quiet inside of me. And off to my right, I can picture it like it was yesterday, there was this sensation of a being, a positive force that I believed to be Archangel Raphael, giving me concrete tips and tricks and messages as he's an angel for healing, for Fabienne, for her business and for how she can work with people as a nutritionist. Tears rolled down my eyes. It was just so positive and so healing. And she was, of course, elated to get messages that would help her. And with an exhale, I closed the session. And at that moment, I knew that channeling was going to be part of my path going forward. Since that day, I think that was about 2005, I have probably channeled for, I don't know, maybe 200 or 300 people, I can't be sure. And I've drawn on information from different sources and helped them see perhaps why they lost a loved one or why their life has turned a certain way, basically to help them take a soul's perspective on their life. And so I'm very happy that long time ago in 2003, this pretty little girl popped out at me, because it took me on a much different path than my main profession in finance in Frankfurt.